What is up, everybody? I'm Jana Niksa, the Authentic Sales Coach. In this video, we are going to talk about really just some real key tweaks, phrases, and ways to sell more authentically so you don't sound like an enormous cheese ball or some used car salesman. So many of my clients say that that's one of their biggest fears when it comes to sales, right? They want to serve their clients. They want to do the transformation. They want to do all of these pieces. They don't want to be pushy, sleazy, slimy. Sounds like I'm naming off all the seven dwarfs. But the point is, how can you have a sales conversation that feels authentic, that feels natural, and truly feels of service to the person and not like pushy? Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. And there's really some rules to this that will make the energy a lot better when you're on a sales call, and just to set that tone and with a certain intention. So we're going to talk about all of that. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you how to handle with love and respect, because so many people do not handle the money objection with love and respect and compassion, but actually also to help them walk through that lack consciousness process. So if this sounds like something you want to listen to, I hope you'll stick around. So if you don't know me, again, I'm Jana Niksa, the Authentic Sales Coach. I work with entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants who really want to set up a more simple sales process, not get trapped in all the IT and all the technology and the moving parts, and work more closely with their clients so that they can generate more of that consistent income, but in a much more simpler fashion. So the main things I focus on with my clients is really putting together a high ticket offer that feels like a no-brainer for your ideal client, that they not only want, which is key, are also willing to invest in. Another big piece that we talk about a lot here is messaging, because if you're not speaking your client's language and you're wondering, where are my high ticket leads? Where are they? It's because you don't have your message nailed down and dialed in a way that it truly speaks to that client. And then, of course, third, we help you map out an aligned, authentic, simple sales 3-step process to get people on calls. And we teach you how to convert them with far more ease. Okay. So without further ado, let's talk about authentic sales, how to navigate some of those pieces that start to feel wobbly for people. So the first one is, if you've invited someone to a call, and let's say it's a clarity session, whatever name you want to call it, I would highly recommend that you call it something very specific that they want. But we'll just say, for lack of a better word, it's some sort of mini clarity session type of call. Or if they know they're getting on an actual sales call, either way, it's really important that you always ask permission to sell. People don't want to be sold to, but they love to buy. Also, people, you think, oh, everybody in my audience is broke. Nobody can afford a high ticket thing. People buy what they want, but they have to feel at ease. And they don't buy when they feel like you know everything and have it all figured out. They buy when they feel understood. And the first part of that is understanding that nobody wants to be sold to. So how do we get around this, especially if you've invited somebody to a call that's more of a strategy session, right? It is not a sales call per se. We never bait and switch. Hear me on this. We never invite somebody to a call where we say we're going to provide them with some information or an assessment or whatever, and then sell to them without their permission. Okay. So how do we do that? So when they come to the call, and let's say they're coming to get some insight from you about one specific thing, you go deep. You go into that thing. You give it all you've got on that particular piece, right? And when you can tell that they've had really some good ahas, they've got some clarity, if you are really paying attention to them and you're present with them, you will know when they feel like they actually really got something out of the thing, right? You can feel that energy of like, I'm glad I did this, right? And at that point, you say, any other questions? Like, how are you feeling? And they're going to say, this is great. This is awesome. Thank you so much. And you can say something as simple as this. There's no reason to get all up in your head about it. And it's just like, well, we support people with this whole process that we mapped out today, or with this step-by-step system that I showed you, or whatever it is that you're supporting them with on the call. Would you like to hear how we support people through this process? I've never had anybody say no. Like, if they feel like you've really delivered on your promise on the call and you're not holding back and gatekeeping and doing all that BS that some coaches tell you to do, then they're like more than happy to hear about it, right? And so, you tailor it to them based on what you've shared today. This is a little bit about my program, and here's how I think it could really help you. Okay. So we're always like unpacking it, but then reflecting back to them how our program supports them based on what they've shared, based on their unique situation. Now, I won't go in more depth on that one today, but it's really key. Like, people don't want to hear about all the modules and what you're doing week to week and all of those pieces. They want to understand how you're going to walk them through this transformation, how you're going to get them to point A, where they are right now, to point B, C, D, E, whatever it is, of where they really want to be. And based on what they shared with you, it really needs to fit in with your offer. So we'll let me know if you want me to go deeper on that, because there's a really beautiful way to lay this out so that your ideal clients are like, this is exactly what I've been looking for, right? And if that's the case, comment the system below and I will walk you through how to walk them through your system in a way that will deeply resonate with them, because that's what sales is at the end of the day. Remember, they buy when they feel understood, when they feel seen. Okay. And how do we demonstrate that they've been seen? By actually using the words that they are using. Okay. So that is the next step. Once we speak their language, tie in and show how our specific offer and the steps that we take uniquely fit to what they need, right? And uniquely don't do the things they don't like, right? Because they've tried other stuff in the past that didn't work. So why is your offer different? And then this is when a bridge phase that a lot of people get hung up on, right? So the two places people get most hung up on during their sales calls are, they're wonderful at getting to know the person, right? They're asking the questions, they're interacting, and they're repeating back to them in those pieces. And then it goes time to sell the offer, right? And it's just that first question I told you, right? It's like, based on what you've shared with me, I really feel like I have a system, or I have this program that fits in really nicely with what you shared today. Would you like to hear about it? Let me do that a little bit smoother. Based on what you've shared today, I've worked with a lot of clients just like you. Only if that's true. Would you like to hear how I support them with this process? Okay. So that's your bridge, your transition statement from connecting to presenting your offer. The next place where people get all up in their head is around the cost, right? So let's say you've finished presenting your system, you've shared, you can tell that they're really interested. You're only sharing the parts of your offer that will resonate with them. We're not going to give them a laundry list of all the things and everywhere and overwhelm them, right? It's another big mistake. Then you say something along the lines of, I know I've shared a lot with you today. What questions do you have? And then you're silent. This is probably one of the hardest parts. Like, we talk about energy, we talk about setting our intention. And in this case, you're just going to be silent and let them ask their question. Okay. Typically, that question is going to be, how much is it? Right. So, what you then say is you just give them the price. Okay. So you don't have to stumble around it. You just say, what other questions do you have? They're going to say, how much is it? And then you can say something along the lines of the program is $12,000, but we do offer a pay in full discount of $10,000. And then just let it land. Don't go into, and we have all these different things and we can work on a payment. And if it's too much, like just let them tell you. Okay. And silence is not a bad thing. That just means they're processing. Like they're sitting there thinking, they're like, okay, so if I pay in full 10 grand, all right, I just sold my car, blah, 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 I'm probably going to get that thing. And I got that client that I'm closing, like whatever it is, they're just working it out in their mind so that then they can justify it. Right. So give them that time. Like, don't feel like you need to fill that space. And so then they can say something. They will, if they let them bring it up. Do you, tell me more about the payment plan? And then it's, we have different options depending on what you prefer. And you just list out what you have available, right? And again, it's like, what would work for you? And let them talk. So sales isn't what you think. This is not, notice I never tried to push them into anything. I just demonstrated to them how what I have to offer is going to fit their needs. That's it. That's sales. The other thing that a lot of people teach out there, that's forcing and manipulating somebody into making a decision they don't want to make. That's not really sales. Okay. Or it's definitely not authentic sales. Okay. That's the old school sales. The new way of selling is all about helping them with neutrality and non attachment make the decision that's best for them. Okay. So, where you show up is that presence, asking great open ended questions, double clicking is what I like to say, and getting further clarification on their situation. Tell me more. What else? Right. And then you repeat those things back to them when you are checking in along the way of the sales call. And then, especially when you're walking through the offer, you're using their words and tying in how your offer supports what they do want and what they don't want. Okay. So, the phrases that we talked about are really just really good questions. Like, what other questions do you have? I've supported a lot of people just like you through this process. Would you like to hear more about how we do that? Something along those lines, right? And um, the price is X, Y, and Z. Be silent. And then it's, we have different options. Go through them. What option would work best for you? Don't tie any of your energy to it. And that's really the key at the end of the day to authentic sales. You just can't want it more than they do. And you have to remember what real sales is. You're doing a service. You're helping them walk through making decisions they already desire to make, not a decision they don't want to make. Okay? And so it's just really about you guys discovering what their needs are, what they've tried, what didn't work, what they like, what they didn't like, how your offer fits into that, and you know demonstrating that this will work for them, activating their desire around it. That's what's really key. So oftentimes people say my audience is broke, everybody that gets on the call can't afford it. And so we're going to cover that objection in a second, but I would really venture to say, when I've worked with people that say that it's not that they're broke, it's that you don't have a good sales process in place. You don't have a good, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say application process, but it's not even that. It's a process of um, elimination. That's not the word. Oh, why can't I think of it? But you don't have a good process in place that actually gets the right people to you on a call. Okay. And whatever the name of that process is that I can't think of in this moment, basically, if you're not talking to the right people, if you don't have a process for them to self select themselves out, if they're not the right fit, And then if you don't have an application process that holds you to a high enough standard, you're going to get people that aren't a good fit, that can't afford it, right? Then, if you do get the right people on the call and they say they can't afford it, even though you've already done a really good job of making sure that people that are coming on the call can afford it, um, it really comes down to you have not inserted yourself into the solution. They are not sold because most of the time, hear me on this. It's been a long day, you guys. Most of the time, when people give you the money objection, it is not actually that they don't have the money. It's that they don't believe in themselves. There's an underlying issue. Typically, the money objection is what we would call a smoke screen. Okay. It's just an easy way. It's a what's the word? Like, non-confront, I can't find words today. Non-confrontational way to have them exit off the phone with you, right? So when they give the money objection, they're usually not sold, either on your program, on you, or on themselves. So a really good way to handle this objection is to say, okay, fine. Money aside, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel like this is the program that's going to work for you? If they say 10, then figure out how to make it work, right? Figure that out. And there's different ways that you can either just be a hard no, you can do a different type of program, maybe a longer payment plan, but if they really want to do it and you feel like you can help them, then to me, where there's a will, there's a way. And again, you can say, okay, what would work for you? And this is where it's really important. And a big part of what I teach in my program is intuition, like knowing when it really is somebody that you can help, it's a good fit. And, maybe they do need an extended payment plan, right? Maybe you need to work with them a little bit versus somebody where it's not a good fit and we're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? So definitely first things first, getting that money objection off the table by making sure that they actually do want to invest in the program. And when they say if it's a 9 or a 10 out of 10, then work with them to try to figure it out. If they can't budge, like if they really are totally broke, if they are, about to lose their house or like whatever it may be, then maybe now's not the right time and you can direct them to something else, something, free that you have, or, your upcoming master class, or maybe you have another coach that, that could get them, off their feet financially a little bit. So, work with them as best you can, leave it up to your intuition to really guide you through that. And then if it's like a 7 or a 6 out of 10, it's like, what would make it a 10 out of 10? And kind of walk through that with them, right? And if they're like, well, this, and you can see that they're just coming up against a lot of fear and resistance, a really powerful question is, I can see that, there's like different things like going on in your mind, right? Like, what's really going on here? And see if you can't get to the actual objection. And again, like I told you before, a lot of times it's this stuff hasn't worked for me in the past. I start these things, I don't finish. I don't believe that I'll get the result. It's usually something deeper. And then this is where I say your coaching begins. But notice what's the underlying theme through all of this. It's being able to hold your own energy. It's being able to not make it about you. It's being able to purely show up as a neutral advisor, unattached, and walk them through the process. Because the intention, we've talked about this in other videos, right, is the highest good for all. The highest good for all. And if I know I've set that intention and I know how to keep my ego and my fear and my garbage out of it and purely show up for this person, then I can walk them through a lot of their fear and resistance. As soon as I make it about me, it switches from truly helping and coaching and being of service to them to it feeling pushy. But there, you'd be surprised. And these things can be taught, you guys. You can absolutely learn to take your ego out of it, to take your fear, your expectations, and your attachment. It's a big part of what I teach with my clients so that you can show up, have a natural, free flowing conversation, see if it's a good fit, and then help walk them through the resistance, by, okay, what's really going on here? And see if you can't get them to open up. And if it is like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work, maybe they need to see some extra testimonials of people that were exactly in the spot that they were in, or maybe they need that extra reassurance. Right? There's a lot of things you can do here to be creative to help them feel safe in making the decision that they already desire to make. Okay. So the energy you're up against isn't whether or not they desire and want it at this point. It's the energy you're up against is their fear and their resistance, and having the ability to show up and hold space for them and lovingly call them out on it so that they can get out of their own way. Because I believe people would not come to these calls if you have the proper screening process, right? I still can't think of that word, by the way. It's so crazy. I'll leave it in the comments later, or somebody drop it in the comments below. If they're on that call for a reason at this point, and you owe it to them to help them see what's really standing in their way. And most of the time, it isn't the money. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what questions you have, what's coming up for you, and I'm happy to make a video about it. And don't forget to subscribe. I am actually changing to Wednesdays at 3 p.m. So I will see you guys on Wednesdays at 3. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.